Mayday. Mayday. This is Vortex Base. We have a lost diver. Repeat. Lost diver in Chamber 3. The voice crackled through the small receiver, thin and strained against a backdrop of static that sounded like falling rain. It was a voice stripped of all but its essential purpose, a sharp point of human distress piercing the calm of the afternoon. The man on the other end spoke quickly, his words clipped, as if he were trying to outrun the very news he was delivering. Each syllable was heavy with a dread that had been building for hours, a slow-burning fear that had finally erupted into this formal plea for help, a signal sent out from a remote patch of wooded Florida scrubland into the wider world. The radio was small, the voice was sharp. It sounded like a man who had not slept. His name was Ben. He was 31. He liked the cold water deep rock. He was not a reckless thrill-seeker, a meticulous, passionate explorer of the Earth's hidden corners. For Ben, cave diving was a discipline, a form of meditation that demanded total focus. It rewarded him with sights few would ever witness. He had done many dives, logging hundreds of hours in the flooded labyrinths of Florida in Mexico. He knew caves, he knew risk. He had friends who trusted him implicitly, friends who were now standing on the surface, their trust helpless against the unyielding physics of the situation. He double-checked his gear. He planned his gas mix with scientific precision. He always respected the cave. The cave was a sink, part of the vast Floridan aquifer, thin tunnels, restrictions and wide cathedral-like rooms called chambers. Light could not get in, only divers with powerful lamps could see. Ben had driven out that morning with 2 partners. The plan: a reconnaissance into Chamber 3 to survey a newly discovered side passage. Well within his capabilities. Cave diving is like entering another world, a realm governed by its own unforgiving laws. You must plan for every contingency. You must carry your air in redundant tanks on your back, because the surface is not up, but back the way you came. You must carry a primary light on your head, and at least 2 backups. Most importantly, you must carry a line, a simple nylon string, usually white or yellow, tied off securely at the entrance. You unspool it as you go, creating a continuous, tangible path that guarantees you can find your way back out, even in zero visibility. If you lose the line, you can get lost. Ben tied the line and went in. The transition from the sunlit world to the subterranean one was immediate. The water temperature dropped, and the ambient sounds of the forest gave way to the rhythmic hiss of his regulator and the soft flutter of his own bubbles. He moved slowly, deliberately, small efficient fin movements to avoid silt. He checked air, depth, time, a practiced glance every few minutes. His beam cut a cone of clarity, revealing strange rock, ancient fossils, and the ghostly white of his guideline stretching ahead. He took photos, the alien beauty of the passage. He loved the profound quiet, the feeling of being utterly alone, yet connected to deep time. His friends stayed outside. They watched his rope, the primary safety line slowly unspooling from a large reel. The sky changed. High, thin clouds thickened and darkened, coalescing into a heavy, bruised mass. Rain began, a spatter, then a steady downpour. They did not know how much water would come, or how quickly it would alter the cave's delicate hydrology. Rain percolates rapidly through porous limestone, spiking flow inside a cave. The flow can change direction. It can push a diver, stir silt, hide the line. In minutes, a calm system can become a blind maze. Ben reached a deep room known as Chamber 3, a vast silent space the size of a small church, its ceiling lost in the blackness. He saw it, the small, keyhole-shaped tunnel he had come to explore. He had ample air. He had time. He secured his primary reel and switched to a smaller spool for the push. Then the rope moved. On the surface, the line, paying out steadily, suddenly swung fast and went slack. "Ben, this is surface. We've lost tension." The radio answered with silence. He was 50 minutes into the dive, within plan, but the slack line was a serious anomaly. A standby diver suited up. The stream feeding the sinkhole grew loud and turbulent. A gentle outflow hesitated, then reversed. A powerful brown surge shoved him with shocking force. His light became a diffuse glow in a swirling cloud. He tried to turn back. The current pinned his shoulder. A sharp tear. Panic spiked. He fought to slow his breathing. He fumbled in the dark. Relief. The thin nylon line. But it was snagged on a sharp edge behind him, the current pulling one way, the taut line the other. He was trapped. Time moves fast. Air moves faster. Every diver knows the brutal equation: finite breaths, specific minutes, changing with depth and exertion. At rest, hours. Fighting a current at 100 feet, air goes ferocious. Rescuers must keep strict limits, carry extra tanks for themselves and to share if they find him. They watched gauges like hawks. They raced 3 clocks. Ben's dwindling air, their own, and the storm. Gear bought minutes, not miracles. The cave narrowed into a jet. Ben's line vanished around a corner. A beam found a low-roof alcove, just enough shelter. Signs: a small knife clipped to rock, a spare mask, a lone fin. He had been here, shedding non-essentials, squeezing on, or preparing to wait. Hope jolted the team. He was moving. He was thinking. He was fighting. Just beyond, a dam of rock, mud, and branches. Water knifed through tiny gaps. They shoved with shoulders and hands. Cold seeped in. A hand over top hit solid roof. The passage was completely choked. They anchored fresh lines into the wall and planned another way. At one point, deep into the 3rd day of the operation, 2 rescuers working to clear the debris dam heard a faint tapping. A metallic sound, rhythmic and deliberate. Tap, tap, tap. Pause. Tap, tap, tap. Not random shifting rock. A signal. A human trying to be found. They held their breath and listened. It came from the left wall. They aimed their brightest beams, swam into a narrow, bypassed side tunnel. They emerged into a small air pocket, a dome no larger than a closet. A diver huddled on a ledge above the water, exhausted and hypothermic but alive. Trapped nearly 72 hours. Main tanks gone, down to a tiny emergency bottle. Last lamp dead. He stared wide-eyed. They brought him out, slowly. Outside, in daylight, he hugged them and wept. He'd been on a separate solo dive when the flood pulse hit. He thought he'd die in the dark. He thanked them over and over. The team did not stop. A brief, muted celebration, then back in. The debris dam again, now with tools, pry bars and lift bags. A log shifted, a small opening. Beyond, calmer water. The guideline, miraculously intact, led down a sloping passage. His light fell on something on the floor. Ben's regulator, tucked under a rocky shelf as if placed there. The discovery of the regulator was a deeply ominous sign. Nearby, Ben's helmet, camera still attached, upright on the sand, almost placed. The rescuer sealed them like sacred relics, knowing what they meant. A diver does not abandon his primary life support and his helmet. On the surface, they pushed a small ROV past the bend, probing a wound with a robotic finger. Grainy images fed to a monitor. The camera showed a tight passage, the white line, rippled sand. It rounded a corner and steadied. A dark shape. A face still, like a man who had closed his eyes to sleep. The operator recoiled. A gasp rippled through the room. The rescuers faced the final truth. The search was over. It had become a recovery. News reached his family quietly, away from cameras. A small room. Photos on a table. Ben smiling on a boat, in his gear, with his dog. A note on the wall. Love, Ben. A thumb traced cave lines. They had listened to radio crackle for days, slept poorly on hard chairs. Their world stopped with the grainy image, a blurry frame no one would forget. Days passed. News spread. Brief reports, simplified headlines. A mystery, a tragic accident. Why so deep? Why the unknown passage? Why not anticipate rain? The lead rescuer pushed back at easy blame. Ben loved caves, knew the danger. Sudden, violent current can surprise the most prepared. Good gear, good procedure. Nature is stronger. The recovery took 2 more days. Technically difficult, emotionally draining. They treated him like a fallen comrade. A silent guard formed as he was carried from the water. Small offerings appeared. A wooden cross tied to a tree. Names spoken quietly past yellow tape. The sheriff closed the site. People came. Flowers. Handwritten notes. Little mementos at the rope. The shows told it with shaky pictures. Flashing lights, grim faces, wetsuits on branches, rows of tanks, coils of rope, each object a silent testament. It became a case study. Rules reinforced. In caves, there's no vertical escape. The way out is long and dark. Lose a guideline, stop, secure, deploy a backup to search. Low on planned air, turn back, no matter how close the discovery. And above all, respect the weather. Rain can turn calm beauty into a deadly trap with astonishing speed. Yet the lessons from Ben's death were more than rules. They were about people, about the impulse that draws someone into the dark. He loved the quiet, the sculpted rock, the piercing cold, the way a small light reveals unseen beauty. He loved the intense challenge, threading passages few would dare. The risk wasn't the point, it was the price of admission. Rescuers debriefed for hours. They tweaked kits, stronger, abrasion-resistant lines, extra high-capacity batteries. They spoke about hope, fuel for the exhausted, and its balance with clear-eyed risk. They taught students to watch the sky and the radar, showed how easily a line can snag on a sharp edge. At a quiet memorial, they told stories, laughed at a clumsy moment, cried at his generosity, and said he'd like the cave to remain secret. They tied a special knot in his memory. The cave sits under low grass and whispering pines, clear water in dry months, a rushing giant after rain. The rock keeps its shape. It does not judge, it waits. In the end, Ben's story reminds us, the dark has rules. And beauty. People will keep going in, carrying lines, lights, and hope. They'll find new corners and teach hard-won lessons. A single weathered wooden cross, tied with white nylon, marks what the earth remembers.